wouldn't let me connect a minute ago. It kept saying I didn't have internet. Look at my hair. Oh my gosh. Doesn't matter what it look like. I've got the funniest story to tell you, and you're going to die. Look at my quilt still over my door. All my windows, curtains pulled tight. I have the thicker curtains, and I've got quilts over any window that is in the line of the air that comes in, the wind that's hitting. The wind chill was -26 this morning. It was like -6 and -26 the last time I checked. I turned over the stove duties to David at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and slept until about noon. Now he's gone back to work. They, for some reason, decided they were going to keep the factory going. So there are people driving, a couple hours to come to work when if they were out in this for 20 minutes, it could kill them. And I think that's stupid, but people want money, and big wigs that don't have to ever go to work don't understand what they're asking of their workers. So, it is what it is. People go to work. Thank God that we live super close and it's not as scary for us. But I'm worried about everyone else that's traveling to work tonight. But I have the funniest story. So David pulled all his snares and stuff, and I told you there's a 24-hour rule. You have to check them. He left one snare up, which was the one behind our house, right in our barn lot. If you know where to look, it's within inside of the house. Because we've been having some really big male coyotes come through and get way too close to our home. And I have my little pug shih tzu mix, Oscar, that I'll let out to go potty. And we have our barn cats that keep the mice and everything in check. And a lot of the neighbors on the back side of us across the creek in a little subdivision have been losing domesticated animals, cats, small dogs, and having their big dogs getting into fights with these rogue coyote groups that come through in daytime, early evening, whenever they want. They're just brave. They don't have the normal behavior of normal coyotes. So we've had some issues with them getting way too close, and of course we're worried about our 10-year-old dog and potty trips at night, and our cats, and and so David had put out one snare, and he was like, I'm gonna leave that one right there. He's like, because I can walk and check it. It's just right in the backyard, through the walk gate right over the hill. And so he left it. Didn't think that anything would run, but normally on these cold nights, if something does run, it's normally the big mamba jambas that are the hateful mamba jambas. I'm sorry, I look like this is what tending a fire for 18 hours a day will make you look like. But he got notification because he puts a trail cam on it that sends him notification when there's any movement, sends him a picture or a video. He got a notification and he saw that he had one in the snare, and he's like, I've got to put my garb on. I got to go take care of it now. Because even though this is something we're going to turn into fur and we're going to, sell, and he's going to dispatch, we still do not want it to suffer out there, freaking out in the snare in this weather. So David gets all garbed up to hike. And he said, I'm going to drive my little tracker around to the barn drive down the barn drive, deal with it. He's like, put it in my big bin in the back of my tracker, drive back around, take it to the fur shed. That way, he doesn't drag it all over this white snow and leave a mess that people would really freak out over, because we do have people that, even though we're in the sticks, they would freak out to see a blood trail somewhere. Just people. So he gets there, and it's this huge, big male with a big black streak down his back that he's been after for a couple of seasons. And he's like, I finally got you. Because it's one of the most aggressive ones. And it's one that has been seen in neighbors fighting with their dogs and stealing their chickens and, packing off their chihuahuas and stuff like that. Yeah, my fires keep the house nice and toasty. I'm good. So he goes and he takes a single shot Cricket 22, which is a little gun that my son used to learn to squirrel hunt with. And it's just perfect for this because one shot, you don't have to carry around a big honking weapon. You don't have to, and we've got tons of ammo for it because when we buy 22s, we buy buckets of ammo. So, so he shoots it. He lets it lay there. This is not for the faint of heart, but just deal with me. This is our life where we live in Appalachia, where we live out of the woods. Leaves it there while he resets the snare because he knows now in the cold the big dogs are running. He's going to try to get another one of these aggressive males because they're the ones that are running right now. They're out still traipsing. So he sets his snare back, and it takes him a few minutes, and he's like, finally I was like, screw this, it's cold. I'm going to get back in the house because it's really cold here today. And he drags it, puts it in the big bin in the back of his tracker, turns around, drives out the barn lot, around to the driveway, down the driveway, goes behind the house to his fur shed, and just happens to look in his rearview mirror because he has to get between two buildings and back for his fur shed. And he says when he looks in his rearview mirror, that daggum coyote has sat up in the Tupperware bin and is like, where are we? It's nasty out, it really is. And he said, my eyes lock with it in the rear view, and it looks at me and goes, starts growling. Dave was like, well, frig. He said, thank God I'm in the habit of loading the 22 back just in case. And he said, I just reached behind the chair in the driver's seat, and he said, angled it down and just popped him. He said, I didn't want him attacking me or getting out in my vehicle. He said, I was literally 3 foot away, and probably less than that. And Dave was like, whew, he's like, that never happened. He said, it must have been the cold. Maybe, I don't know, never happened before. So David, he's like, I don't reload my gun because I'm thinking, well, but, it's over now. I'm not going to reload my gun because I'm at the house and I don't have to unload it as soon as I walk in the house. So he gets out, shuts the door. And as soon as he shuts the door on the vehicle, that stupid coyote sits up again. Now, listen, y'all, we're from the woods. We've hunted our whole life. We know how to do a lethal kill shot, a humane lethal kill shot, quick kill shot. We don't want anything to suffer. This guy just was not going to give it up. And David's just like, I don't understand this. Well, now he's got a very pissed off coyote in the back of his tracker and his gun's in the front, and he didn't reload it. So then he had to go around and get his gun out of the front, reload it while his coyote's in the back of his tracker wreaking havoc. And then he had to get his attention, and it's like lunging at the glass at him. And you've seen some of the videos I've done where they even went on a snare. They'll try to kill Dave when he walks up on him. So then he has time to open the door and pop it again, bless its heart. And he said that time it finally died. And he's like, I've got him hung up in the first shed. It's like a freezer outside, so he's fine. He won't ruin it. But he's one of the most beautiful ones that we've caught the last 2 years on our trail cam, and we've been really trying to get him because he's the leader, he's the alpha, and he's very dangerous. And he's been seen in most of the altercations in the surrounding people's lands, the farmers' fields, taking baby livestock, in dog fights with neighbors' dogs. He sent several animals to the vet around here, especially the backside over the hill. 2 of the ladies' dogs that are fenced. She's fenced. Those coyotes got in there and attacked her half Great Pyrenees, half something else, and sent 2 of them to the vet. And these rogue coyotes are so dangerous and they're so aggressive. And so we need to get rid of them if at all possible because they're getting so brave and getting so close to homes. This thing was literally through my walk gate, which you can see from my kitchen window, just 90 foot over the hill. But he's been in my yard. He's been in my yard, and they've been stealing domesticated animals and getting in fights and causing a lot of rigmarole. So David was really trying to get those really brave, aggressive ones. I just never in my life, because I heard the skirmish and I was like, what is he doing? What is he, because he would never really fire a gun that close unless he was, dispatching something. And then I heard him squall like, whoa, and I was like, what is going on? And then he came in and he told me, and I was like, I would have paid money if I just had a dash cam in David's little tracker that filmed him looking back when he looked in his rear view and that coyote looked at him. I would have paid money to have seen the expression on both of their faces. Because this is a story, this will never happen again. This is one of those once in a lifetime things that never happens again. I've ever only heard of anything like this happening once before from a guy that was up north, moved down here to deer hunt and live, and he deer hunt, got a big buck. He laid it down, took pictures with it, put his big, expensive, brand new gun across his antlers with the sling, and he was propped it up and took pictures of his deer with his big, nice new gun that he brought when he moved down here. And that was his baby, and he was so proud of himself. And then that deer come up. He must have just knocked it out, hit it just right and missed all the vital stuff, and it come to life. Took up, that sling had wrapped around his antlers. It took off running through the woods with his gun attached to its rack. And this man is chasing this deer through the woods. And over the next holler, got in a tree stand and shot it. He heard the shot and started squalling, "That's my deer." And so the guy gets down on a tree stand. He comes up and he's like, "That's my deer. I just shot it." And the guy said, "Look at what's wrapped in its antlers." And the guy's like, "When did you put that gun there?" He goes, "About 20 minutes ago when I shot it and put that there to take pictures." He said, "Here, I've got the pictures on my digital camera. You can see." And they had a good laugh over it. I don't know who ended up with the deer, but I know he got his gun back. But things like that happen sometimes. It's very rare. And when you've lived your whole life hunting, snaring, trapping in the woods, and you're very, we try to be very respectful and dispatch these animals humanely, quickly, and we try to do like a one shot, it's done, and nobody's suffering. But this coyote was not going to give it up. Much respect. He was a very mean, aggressive alpha male. Much respect. He's been causing quite a bit of issues around here and thieving and killing animals and getting to the point where we were worried about the kids that play in the neighborhood behind us. So we're glad that we got him caught. We're glad that he's got. I just never in my life would have imagined my husband coming in and telling me anything like that ever happened to him. So now my husband's like, he's like, "I'm going to be paranoid now." He's like, "Now that I'm after these big nasty ones," he's like, "I'm going to be paranoid every time that I go and I dispatch one." He's like, "I'm going to be like poking him extra times to make sure." And I said, "I'm sorry." I said, "I don't mean to laugh at you, honey." I said, "But I would have paid money to have seen the expression on your face when you looked in the rear view and that coyote had popped up and was like, 'What the crap are we doing?'" I just can't. Sorry. That just strikes me as the funniest thing ever, because David is trapped for how many years now, and has hunted since he was a tiny, tiny boy. And this is just one of those rare occurrences that never, never, you hear about, but you never think, "Oh, that will never happen to me." It happened to my husband this morning, and he's like, "I can't make it make sense." He was like, "I can't make it make sense." And he's like, "That's where I shoot them all." He's like, "Everything's always a one shot kill." And he said, "I just don't know how." And I said, "That was a big mamba jamba." And I said, "He was letting you know he wasn't going down easy." And so I don't know. He's kind of bonded to this one. So if he tends its hide, it may be one that ends up staying on our wall that we kind of look at and be like, "Respect." you were, a very qualified and respected adversary. And I just thought that was just the strangest thing. But at like 5:30 this morning, we had a -6 temp with a -26 wind chill. The house has stayed really warm. We've got the wood stove going. I think in certain areas they're doing rolling blackouts. I don't really use a lot of electricity. I might have one lamp on in the evening, in whatever room I'm in, and then we turn our furnace way down when it's cold like this because it doesn't do anything anyway, and we just use our wood stove. But I do know that where my brother lives over in extreme East Tennessee, they're doing rolling blackouts to save electricity. They thought about doing them about an hour down the road from us, and people were like, "No." And people got so mad, and then they were like, "Oh, no, we're not going to have to after all." It's kind of silly when most people that are here use wood stoves and natural gas and have the outside boilers. We all like alternative heat sources. We don't like to rely on electricity because around here, electricity will kill you in the winter because we have our ice storms and the snows. And when it's out, because we're so rural and we have such slim work crews, and we're never number one when anything happens, emergency wise. We're normally out when we have an ice storm, 5 to 7 days without power. So we all have alternative heat sources. And so for them to be like, "You're using way too much energy," we're like, "Oh, really? Really?" Maybe Knoxville, maybe Maryville, maybe Nashville. But these little Podunk towns that, where people are, no. Wood stoves and outdoor Amish furnaces, no. Um, so some of the smaller communities kind of bit back, being like, "Show us the numbers, prove it," and they were like, "Oh, we're not going to have to do them now." So, be aware your government's trying to play you for an idiot. And to be quite honest, if I had one message for Joe Biden is, if you're going to try to screw me, you need to take me to dinner first. So that's kind of where I am. But they're coming after, like in California, there are multiple counties in California where you may not own a wood stove, and they're In other communities, they're phasing them out. So in like 8 years, you can't purchase them, buy them, and nobody can even manufacture them in those areas. And they're saying it's to save the environment. But wood heat is actually one of the cleanest heats that you can have. And the thing is that carbon in that tree, however you dispose of the tree, if it rots, it burns it still releases the same amount of carbon. You can't really change the carbon footprint of that tree. It just augments how it is in the environment. And there are so many other more dangerous ways to heat, for the environment. But I find it so weird that they're coming after people that live so simple and have such minuscule carbon, environmental footprints. And they're like, you can't heat with wood heat. You can't burn 2 rick of wood a year. But let me go and take my 25th private jet flight this month to talk to my heiress wife who owns all these coal plants to tell you how to be a better person. And it's just like, shut up and leave me alone. Just shut up and leave me alone. So just be aware they're doing this, there's changing the laws. Now they're, for a while it's been you couldn't transport firewood across state lines. Okay, fine. They blamed it on bugs. Well, you stupid idiots, bugs fly, bugs move, bugs transport on other things besides trees. So that didn't hold much water, but whatever, make your rules, fine people, whatever. But now it's getting to where they're saying that people with the wood heat are the biggest threat to the environment. And I'm like, the biggest threat to our environment are these rich people that fly 1 person per private jet, 2 people per huge yacht that uses more energy than 10 families in this area could use in 5 years. But we're the people that are supposed to fix it. The people that have nothing, the people that do not cause a problem, we're the people that's supposed to fix it. It's like we do 1% of the damage, but we're going to have to be responsible for 100% because the people that do the 99% of the damage have no inclination that they're responsible for anything because, they're up here, they're the royalty, we're the serf. And so they make us responsible for all the crap that they cause. And so when I found out, I had a good friend in California, and they're banning our wood stoves, and they're saying it's for wildfire season, but a good burning clean wood stove that meets all the requirements that they have on them right now burns clean, will not send up anything that will start a fire. So that doesn't hold water, but they're banning it. So I've got friends that are now going to be affected. They're like, we're going to have to move. They're like, because there's, we just can't afford these high electric prices not being with electric when the governor decides to just turn off the switch. We can't live like that. So it's happening. America, the land of the free, is no longer words that synonymously go together, and we're all getting screwed. So, and I know I live super rural and I'm in Appalachia and I have a life that's very different from most of you all. But let me tell you, when we start to feel the pressure here, us little people that cause no problems, live off of nothing, and live a very close relationship to the land, when they start pointing at us and saying, you're the problem, it's like projection much, because we know we're not. Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. My nose is so stopped up right now and I do not know why. But I was up at 4:30 this morning, since that's normally the time that nobody else is using electricity. And I made a casserole so that if the electricity was turned off, I could put it in an aluminum pan and heat up single servings on the wood stove if I needed to. So I was up at 4:30 making a casserole so that if they did shut out the electricity, we would have food for a day or two that we could just heat up on the stove in an aluminum pan. And I've got soups and stuff that I can make on the stove. But I just think it's stupid. If you look at our power consumption, and you can go and look all this up in your area. Go to your whoever provides your power source. You can go and look at all the graphs for power consumption, spikes, lows. Look at it. Have that knowledge. Put it in your brain. And then when these politicians tell you that you're the problem, spit some numbers at them. Tell them, no, I can read. I'm not as stupid as you think I am, and I know the truth. And let me inform you on the monthly usages, the months of highest use, lowest use, and let me tell you, how much they've raised the price over the last decade, and like, throw some knowledge at them, because our elected officials think we're stupid. And if we would just stop allowing the stupid people to represent us, they would know we're not stupid, and a lot of things would change. So that's my beef for the day, because I've got people that live 30 minutes away from me, that poor area. We all have wood stoves. We're not a huge population, but we're going to pay by a rolling blackout so that Knoxville and Nashville are not hindered. Screw Knoxville and Nashville. Turn your goddamn lights off. Stop your matinees. Stop the bars that have 15 lit up signs on the road. Allocate the responsibility and the recompense and the fix of the problem to the people that are causing it. Take away these private jets, these giant yachts. Take away these things that generate more waste and create more harm to the environment. Then, my entire community could not create the carbon footprint that Kerry guy does in 1 month of all he's flying in his personal jets. But yet it's people like us that will have rolling blackouts and pay the price. It's just, be vocal. There's no reason to be violent or vicious about it, but be vocal. Put knowledge in your head. Tell them that you know the truth. Spit some facts and tell them, hey, listen, we're living really simple here, and you're living high on the hog. How about you come down and meet where we live? How about you live like us for a little while and see how much you have to flex and how much you have to give? Because it's not a whole lot. It's not a whole lot at all. So, but that's just where I am. I've got to go stoke my fire. I had to share that story because I was afraid if the electricity went out, I wouldn't be able to tell you tonight. Cracked me up. Scarred my husband for life. And it's just, I just wanted to tell you. Next year they're going to start with you better be putting a garden out next year. You better be putting up your food, because Monsanto owns every seed that's ever made right now, unless you have a farm that's been generational for hundreds of years and you can get generational seeds from their heirloom plants. You're screwed, because these seeds they sell today, you can plant them and they'll make one plant that will produce 1 year. But if you take seeds off that, it will not. You can plant it, but it won't grow anything, because they've augmented the seed. They've augmented that seed to not produce, to not do what it is supposed to naturally do. So I buy all of mine heirloom quality from farms that I know that have been generational, and I have seeds put up, and I try to do 2 to 3 years at a time, because after a couple of years they won't germinate. So find your old farmers, your Amish, your Mennonites, and say, hey, where do you get your heirloom quality seeds? Can I buy some and stock up? Because who controls the food controls the people. And, they're doing it now with power. And, Europe and Eastern Europe, they went, and they went renegade on the politicians that said, we're going to lose a third of our population freezing because we're not going to allow power to be used. We're going to shut off your power because we're having power issues. Well, then the people were revolted, and guess what? Oh, sorry, we found a way to leave the power on for you. Really? Well, you must have looked really hard when you said, oh, some of y'all are going to have to croak this winter. But then as soon as people get mad, oh, you just happen to find this magical. They're okay. We are expendable. They are okay with saying that we are expendable. Yep. And if you don't have a food dehydrator, you can smoke. You can learn how to smoke your meats. You can learn how to put up stuff by smoking it. You can find out how to salt cure certain meats. There are other ways to put up your food. And you just kind of got to get creative and go back and learn. And don't let these people scare you and botulism. And do your research, educate yourself, talk to the people that are 90 years old, been doing this their whole life, and learn a new skill. Learn a new skill. And there's so much around you that's edible that people don't know is edible. Sunflower stalks, edible. Sunflower leaves, edible. That whole plant is basically edible. So I eat dandelion stems, dandelion leaves. We fry dandelion heads. We make dandelion jelly. We make violet jelly. We make honeysuckle jelly. There's lots of stuff that grow that you can eat it's in your backyard. even if you're in the city, plantain grows in cracks in pavement and walkways in the city. And I'm like, there's the world's best Band-Aid right there. You know, it's the best poultice, best Band-Aid, best, you know, scratch or cut healer. And you can stick it right in your mouth and eat it, you know. And people just don't know. And this, you know, it's not like this information is hidden. It's just that when they shift importance, they do it for a reason. And if you're not paying attention and you let those old ways die, that's when they realize, oh, they've forgotten how to do this. So let's take this away from them, and they don't know how to live without our aid. You know, there are a few of us still that do know how to get by. The Foxfire books are great books. I have a lot of North American wild herbal remedy and edible plants. And of course, growing up in the woods, I learned a lot of that just because, but I still learn something every day by reading those books. Foxfire books are great. Any old timer, I mean, go sit at an ammunition gun or like the local game shop where you get where hunters can get like bait and fishing lures, and you know, sit there and listen to those old men talk around that potbelly stove where they visit, and soak up some of that knowledge. You know, it's amazing. You know, if you got a sack of taters and you can keep them from rotting through the winter, and you know how to keep them, then by golly, you can grow you taters next year. You know, you just need one eye in you know, for every piece you cut, they plant you taters. But people don't know these things. Like I watched somebody on YouTube the other day that was amazed that she was like, I noticed that my potato in the bag was growing something. And somebody said, put it in a jar with water halfway in, halfway out. And she's like, look at this beautiful plant I grew. And I was like, honey, it's a potato plant. And if you would have put it, you know, in a big bucket on your front porch in the spring, or put it in a tire filled with dirt, or it would have grown you a whole crop of taters, you know. And I can't believe that people don't know these things, but they just don't know these things. And it's just like, okay, you know, but we've got to get back to basics. And that's where, when we get so far away from our connection with the land and our knowledge of the plants of the land, it's amazing how people can take advantage of you when you don't have that basic fundamental knowledge. And that basic fundamental knowledge also, it has to do with your body, how you take care of your body, the energy within your body, who's using the energy within your body. Our bodies create quite a bit of energy. We're little batteries. We're little computers up here in little batteries. And, you know, if you think that your energy and your body and your brain is not being harvested for power and being used and manipulated to kind of control the masses, I mean, our military, you could read about what our military is able to do across seas to go in and infiltrate, you know, very hostile areas without one injury, because they have certain things that affect the brain and affect the body. And we sit here and think, oh, but they'd never use those things on us. But if you go back over our nation's history, you can find over like 37 times that they have done things like this to their own people, and then, oh, we found out about it, you know. So never live your life thinking everybody's got your best interest, you know, at heart. They don't. You're the only person that has your best interest at heart. So be very aware that these natural things they're trying to strip away from you are the things that are going to be the things that save you when the crap hits the fan. So learn about your body, your energy, your brain, how it functions, how all of your systems work, your responses to certain kinds of stimuli. Learn about all of that. Look up the thing called the human biofield. Learn about your human biofield. They don't like to talk about it, but if you get deep into the medical books, you know, I had always known about it. And then I met this very smart person that told me more about it. And I was like, how do so many people not know? This is like a word, you know, these are things I learned because I was the field I went into, and understanding the mind and how we're trying to learn the patterns and the neural pathways that light up when the mind is triggered. And I was surprised that so many people had no idea that there actually is an aura, an energetic output from the body. Our bodies are basically batteries and computers, and we do have energetic fields in our body that we can use for healing and stuff like that. And people need to read. Even if it's something that may not interest you, you probably need to read things that don't interest you from time to time to put a different wrinkle in your head. But that's, for me, I wonder if we've got like 17 new cell phone towers in my area, but our cell phone signals are not any better. And I'm asking people, why am I not getting better service? Why nothing's improving? Why? And no one can tell me. And it's just like, I'm curious. It doesn't make sense. What you're telling me you're building them for is not improving. So what are you actually building them for? Because it's not working. If it's not working, why are you spending taxpayer money to put towers in places where it's not improving the signal? What are they for? And when you can't get an answer, it's normally because they don't want you to have the answer or the information. So YouTube's probably going to hate me for this video now. But it's just read, be aware, do your homework, and I live real simple, and I'm sure somebody's going to have a problem with the story I just told. I live real simple, and I live connected to the land, and I love my heritage, my Scots, Irish, and Cherokee heritage. I love my heritage. But what I cannot stand is people that don't know who they are, where they came from. They don't know how to go out in the woods and forage, not even one meal, not even one salad. And they live in a place where energy consumption and waste production is sky freaking high. But they will get on the internet and yell at somebody like me that eats out of the woods, that uses the smallest amount of energy possible, that lives close to nature, and still lives in the old ways where I'm trying to not harm this earth, the land, and I'm trying to live in some kind of harmony. But they will sit on their perch in their gaseous, electric fueled, people packed, toxic steam coming from the sewers city and tell me that I'm a harm to the planet. And they don't see the juxtaposition there. And I'm just like, okay. What can I say? Okay. But anyway, I just wanted to share that story and share a little bit of information. They may do if they shut my electricity off tonight, I may not be able to come back. If they shut my electricity off, you bet your sweet bippy, I will be calling every politician the next 3 days. I will be writing things for the newspaper, and I will be throwing a fit, because there's no reason why people here in Potomac, Appalachia, that have the lowest consumption of energy should ever have theirs cut off, so that Nashville and Knoxville can keep their Broadway lights on. I mean, seriously. Seriously. Anyway, that's my beef for today. That's my funny story for today. We got it all out in one. I'm feeling so much better today. Oh, Gypsy, you'll have to go back and listen. I'm feeling so much better today, but I didn't get near enough rest from tending the fire. So while I've got it going good, I'm going to try to sneak a doze, and then I'll be up all night again with a fire, because it's just too cold, and to stay warm, this is, I just have to babysit it all night. On a normal winter night, I can keep a fire, and then I can bank it tonight, and then I hold all night. Or if I have to get up, go to the bathroom, I might stoke it once through the night and go back to bed. But on nights like this, when it is so flipping cold, I have to really just feed it, stay on top of it, and watch it, because I'm letting it roll hotter than I normally like to. So I'm up and I'm paying attention. But I do that so David can sleep, because he's the one that has to go and work a 10-hour shift. So that's my job. And then when I get up, or when he gets up in the morning after he's well rested, we tag out, and I'll lay down for a few hours, and he'll sit in the house on these cold days and watch the fire, so I can get some rest, because he knows I'm going to be the one letting him sleep when he gets back from work. So we work really well together when it's like this, and it's just the roles we have to play. And I've got every quilt I own over windows, over doorways, over, and the house stayed actually really warm last night, and actually had to take a blanket off the bed last night. David was like, I'm hot, come pull this quilt off. And so we've done really well, and I do know that they did find someone passed away this morning in a small little trailer park at the south end county. I don't know if they froze. I don't know what happened, but it was sad to hear the call go out over the radio. So it was, and your mind automatically goes to, oh no, they didn't believe that the weather is as bad here as it can be, because we've got a lot of new people here this year that don't know this weather. don't know the plateau and how dangerous it can be. And but my mind immediately went to, oh no, they moved into that little trailer park, not knowing the weather, the winter, and how vicious it can be here, in the wind, especially in the windstorms, because we have no windbreak. And I really hope that they did not freeze. I can't imagine being so cold and having no one. I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere. There's no emergency services. There's no help. I can't imagine being in that position, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So, but I do know that we've had some people found dead today in this little area, and we have to really pay attention to our seniors and our new implants from other areas that don't understand how dangerous the weather on this plateau can be. And they move here and they think it's easy peasy, but this area has a vicious edge to it, especially during winter with ice storms and wind. And lots of times I've got friends that live up in Canada and lower British Columbia, and they're like, there are days that your weather's more violent than ours. And I was like, I know. So it's just an odd little crag on top of the hill, and because we are at this perfect elevation with the perfect wind hitting at the perfect elevation and the perfect moisture level sometimes, and we have always a lower temperature, winter can get really hairy here sometimes. So I really hope that wasn't what happened, but it's odd for the scanners to say as much like they did this morning, with as many people in distress are being found dead. So it's just, yeah, I just hope it doesn't happen tonight. I hope people are more prepared if that was what it was, and we don't hear that again tomorrow. So toss up some prayers for those that are affected by any losses in the area. It's sad. But I'm going to take a nap, make my fire, take a nap, and I'm really close and I watch it, and so I'm good. But I've got to get just a little bit more of a snooze in before I try to tangle tonight, because it's going to be another cold one and I'm going to have to be up all night again. So I'm going to go rest, but I wanted to share that. And the thing is he actually took pictures when he went to check the snare and kind of documented it, because it was this big male he went after. So I'm going to actually edit the video. It's just a very short little, like 2 minutes. I'm going to edit the video, and then the rest of the story now after you watch David's video that I'll put up, that after he got that thing home, it just sat up and said, "Where are we going?" And they had quite the tangle. But he did. It is now hanging in the fur shed, and the hide will be tanned. It's beautiful. And it was one of the alpha males that was causing a lot of the grief in the area, so that's a good thing. But I can already tell you, David will be emotionally attached to that one, because they had a battle royale, and I hope that I can get him Sunday to do a live. Even though it's Christmas, I want him to come on and do a normal live, because I'd love for him to explain that to you. It'd be like our Christmas present to you, to watch this big burly man tell you. It's like the Mississippi Squirrel and Ray Stevens. And I needed that laugh after the couple weeks I've had. We both needed that laugh. And I mean, it is sad, but when you've done this for so long, these things don't happen. We needed that laugh. So I see you. We needed that laugh. It was great. So I said, if you catch another big bruiser, I said, be more careful. He said, oh, I will. I said, you'd been better if you just drug it and left a blood trail and let people like freak out. And he said, I was just trying to not like freak out anybody that, and I said, I'm sure the neighbors appreciated it, but you probably would have figured out a lot quicker it wasn't dead if you just drug it. Oh, bless my husband's heart. Okay, I need a nap and some lunch. And then I'm going to shut my house back down and just stick by the fire and doze and watch the Waltons until I have to really sit up and start cranking her and staying warm. So y'all be safe. It's still going to be another rough night, so don't drop your guard down yet. And check on your neighbors, check on your elderly, and if you have neighbors, it's a good time to meet them, call them, and get to know them, because I have a feeling this winter is going to be rough and we're going to need each other. So check on your loved ones, check on your animals, bring them inside. Oscar's over here snoring. All the cats were in the warm house last night, and they came out for the breakfast this morning, and they're all warm, fat, and sassy. They have probably got the best cat house known to man. They don't even live in the barn anymore. They have a built-in cat bed box in the insulation in the warm house in the warmest spots, and that's where they all sleep. And my warm house keeps all my jarred stuff safe. It stays a constant temperature and it stays warm. It's a warm house. So all my cats were warm, fat, and sassy, and they showed up for breakfast like, feed us now, because then we're going back to bed. So I fed them super early, and but all was accounted for. We're all good here. So minus one Rogue Cody. He didn't go easy. I respect him for it, but I'm glad he's gone, because the lady over the hill has had 2 of her dogs at the vets because of this Cody. And like we know it's him, because he's got a very identifiable back strip on his back, a big black patch, and we know it's him. So some of my neighbors are going to sleep easier tonight, but we're still after the rest of them that are running with him, because it's a rogue little group, and they're just violent. They're aggressive. It's like a little thug Cody mafia running through. So one down, probably about 4 or 5 more to go. But the big dogs are running, and David is going to leave that one snare out and try to get them. So, you know, rough night, but, you know, at least one thing went right. David needed that. We needed that laugh, though. After the couple weeks we've had, we needed the laugh. David's feeling better. It probably is his Lyme stuff acting up, which was what caused the scare the other night. And he does have a doctor's appointment Monday to go and see if they need to start antibiotics again or do anything else while he's waiting to get into his Lyme specialist, which takes about 3 weeks to get into. So David's taken care of. Doctor's appointment Monday. And we're just going to get through the weekend. And hopefully after tonight, he doesn't have to work anymore. So it was meant to be. It was. It must have just been meant to be. There's one other really pretty one that I hope he can get this winter. And he's another one of the really aggressive ones. But I really hope he can get it. Because if he gets that one and he's got a more of a red turn to his coat, I'm claiming him. And I want him. I won't let him be sold. He will be my hide on my wall. That animal has learned to walk with his feet like this, so he doesn't get caught in snares. Smart. I'm so amazed. Big Red's been laughing all morning. I've had a good day. But that Cody is so smart that if my husband ever does get him caught, I will be like, no, I have admired this smart Cody. Even though he's a butthole, he steals alpacas and calves. You know, he's a wild animal, that is, but he's like, they will just kill him and leave him. They don't even eat him. They're just a rogue, really bad group of Codys. You know, and I respect them as, you know, a top predator, but we know that we need to get these guys dispatched because they're causing way too much death and harm here. But he is so pretty, and he will stay on my wall because he's just beautiful, and he's learned to walk a certain way so he doesn't get caught in snares. And my mind is blown every time I realize how smart some of these top alpha male coyotes are. They're so smart, and I respect them. And if we get him caught, he's going to be mine. He's going to be on my wall, and I'm going to tell his story and tell him how smart this meaner than a piece of crab, smart dog. So, oh yeah, well, we've actually had kids attacked. We've had adults attacked. We've had 2 people in the last 3 years actually mauled to death by groups of rogue dogs and rogue coyote dog mixes, hybrids. So, TWRA is really begging anybody that trap these coyotes, because they are getting super mondo aggressive. So, David has really amped up the coyote trapping. Even though he's got plenty of fur, you know, and we're to the point where we're just keeping the really nice fur now. They still need them down because the numbers are so high. They are getting too brave and going after, instead of just the occasional livestock, now it's domesticated animals stalking suburbs to get the chihuahuas and the little dogs. They have gone after children, but we have had 2 full-grown adults in the last 3 years mauled to death while they were taking an evening walk on their farm. by Cody dog hybrids. They're Cody's, but they've got dog bred into them, and they just lose their fear. They're more mean. They get bigger. They have larger litters, and they're just more aggressive. And we've had 2 adults killed, mauled. So black bears are buttholes. I would, if you ever have a choice between standing against a black bear or a grizzly, pick a grizzly, because a grizzly's territorial, and once you say I'm submissive, you're the big man, I will leave. It may smack you around, but then it'll be like, told you I was bigger than you, and it'll leave. If a black bear is looking at you, it's because he's zeroed in on you as either you're a threat or you're a food source. And black bears are the meanest bears, and they cause more death than any other bear. Go do your research. So black bears are the most dangerous of the bear family. And we are where the Great Smoky Mountains would send their trouble bears for a long time. So we have bears that will go through the drive-through at the bank and push on the window trying to break into the bank, and the tellers have to call like a park ranger and cops to shoo them off. And it's because we get the trouble bears from the Great Smoky Mountains. So I have a beef with that too. If they're that much trouble, dispatch them. When they learn those bad habits, they never stop them. But yeah, it's just been bears. Black bears are the worst. They're the most lethal. They're the most vicious. People say, oh, well, they don't attack often. But in the event of bear attacks, when a bear is finally provoked to attack, in the number of attacks, black bears kill more often than any other bear on the face of the earth. Pandas are actually very vicious too. Pandas are actually quite vicious as well. People don't believe me, do your research. Okay, that's enough of my brain today. I've got to go stoke my fire, and then I'm going to rest. But I just had to tell you all this just in case they don't have electricity later. But don't worry, I've got all my lights charged, extra batteries for my battery candles, and then I've got 5,000 candles that I can burn. And honestly, the glow from the wood stove, it keeps the house light enough I can see, unless I need to go to the bathroom. I'm fine. So don't worry about me. I'm good. I've got it all under control. And y'all have a good day. Make sure you stay warm. Watch this weather. And if your family is traveling for Christmas, please keep tabs on them. And y'all have a wonderful Christmas Eve. And I might see you later. I might not. But I just wanted to get on to say howdy. I'm going to get my snoring dog back to his bed and let him rest and blow my nose that stopped up and take a nap. I love you, so I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys. Oscar Wommy's nose is stopped.